Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with you again, post May the 4th. So hope everybody had a great May the 4th. We'll talk about a little bit of what I did. My last show that we put out there was right before. And I was heading out of town to Las Vegas. I was out there for work for a few days, so that went really well. Came back on the 4th and then had my Star Wars day. But we'll get into that here in a minute, as well as a ton of news since it's been a little while since my last show, almost 2 weeks now. So got a lot to catch up on. And then my main topic, we'll talk a little bit about Attack of the Clones, because that is coming up on its 2-year anniversary here on May 16th. So, 20-year anniversary here coming up on May 16th. And I do want to kind of mention that a little bit, acknowledge Attack of the Clones a little bit. But first up, wanted to say, one of my duties here, as now that we are a part of Patreon, I want to acknowledge new patrons. So we got a new patron back on, I don't know, even it's just maybe 10 days ago or so, right after I pretty much had posted the show, the last show. New patron came on, Huang. Thank you very much for joining Inside the Force's Patreon, and so glad to have you. Sent you a message on Patreon as well. They acknowledge that they've been around for years now, so really, really appreciate that, and hope that, again, I keep continuing to give you what you need and all the Star Wars that you want, and looking to, create more stuff, as I'll talk about here in a second too, about just on Patreon for you and for all the ones that have joined. Again, really, really appreciate everybody getting on there, and hope it grows. And if not, it doesn't matter if there's only one of you out there. I'm going to keep doing this and doing as much as I can. So looking forward to hearing from you, and because you are at the highest level, so I want to make sure that you're getting everything you need, and we'll get some dialogue going between us, and hopefully we can get you contributing to the show in some way. So really, really appreciate it. And speaking of Patreon, I do want to say that started doing some weekly comic reviews on there. Reviewed Obi-Wan Kenobi #1. I'm about to do another one here soon for comics that came out this week. Is actually, I think, the only one that came out, which is the Halcyon Legacy. So I'm caught up on that, so I'll drop that review here soon. But with those, I wanted to make sure, because with Beyond the Saga, the show that Hannah and I do, roughly about all the publication stuff, some of those have been out for a long time, and even though we still don't try to spoil anything, we do talk a little bit more about, the story and what happens in it a little bit, but we do try to avoid any revealing spoilers. With these weekly comic ones, kind of the same thing. I'm definitely not going to spoil anything, because they're obviously going to be pretty brand new. You all that on Patreon that watch it or listen to it, I don't want to definitely spoil anything for you, so don't be afraid that I might reveal anything. I'll just kind of give you a rough review and what I thought about it, and if it was worth picking up or not. But so far, that Obi-Wan #1 came out there, and that was pretty good. But if you want to kind of hear my thoughts on that, get up on Patreon. Thank you. Okay, so lots of news to go over here. Let's start real fast with some production news. If you haven't seen the post out there that Dave Filoni put out there, Ahsoka has begun production. It was a nice little picture of his hat hanging on the director's chair with the title of the show, Ahsoka, on the back of it. So that has officially begun production, which is fantastic to hear. Meaning that, it's May right now, 2022. So I would venture to guess we're going to get that to debut a year from now. I would say a year from now. I would say, so that means look for it maybe debuting May the 4th of 2023. Although May the 24th or May the 4th next year is going to be probably on a Thursday because it was on a Wednesday this year. I'm going to look real fast. It is on a Thursday, so maybe May 3rd or May 5th of next year. Just a guess. Or they could push it towards the end of the month, like they are with Obi-Wan this month. So, but either way, great news. Great for Lucasfilm, great for us as a fan base, because Ahsoka is probably one of the most anticipated shows that they're going to be putting out there. So, looking forward to that. Can't wait for that. I wonder, I doubt it. Gosh, it would be incredible if they showed, you know what, they probably will. I bet you they do. I bet you, which is unfortunate because it's probably going to only be for Celebration attendees, but they're probably going to have something there from Ahsoka for that crowd during that live action panel. Yep. I don't think it's going to be released to the public because they've done that before. They did that with Mandalorian back in Chicago. I remember being in that panel and we saw footage from Mandalorian that they never released. So that's probably going to happen. Now that I sit here and think about it, Ahsoka is probably going to get some footage released during Celebration. And it ain't going to be anything but a couple of shots. Maybe it's just a quick teaser. But maybe not. They're definitely going to talk about it. But they might have some production stills and whatnot. But we'll see. Next thing that came out, which I'll hold off on that. Let's see. Rumor out there that the next Star Wars Jedi game, the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, apparently there's a rumor going around right now that it's called Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Makes sense, right? He's a survivor. So that could be it. And more than likely it got leaked before it got released at Celebration. So we're very close to Celebration now, only 2 weeks away. So probably is correct. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Let's see. The Princess and the Scoundrel, the novel that I've mentioned a few times when that's coming out, which is August. Cover for that came out, of course, with Leia and Han on the cover. Looks fantastic. Actually, it's one of the best covers I feel like I've seen from these books. Pretty cool. Can't wait for that. Of course, that book is written by Beth Revis. She wrote the Jyn Erso book, Rebel Rising, which was really good. I actually really liked that book. So looking forward to that for sure. Celebration announced they're having their live stage again. Their live, live streaming, live panel, live show, whatever that happens. Usually that thing is set up in the vendor booths area, the main vendor booth area. They'll be live streaming some stuff there. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like they're probably gonna live stream much of the paneling, panels and reveals and stuff like that. Well, if there's trailers and stuff like that, they'll release those, I'm sure. But the panels themselves, will probably not be live streamed. So just a live show where they'll have guests and people popping on. And your normal crew from all the Star Wars show people are there, so that's going to be cool. Definitely going to be watching that since I won't be there. I keep saying that. I'm not going to be there, which sucks. But, yeah, Celebration will be live. And then May the 4th, also we saw the Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer. So, yeah, let's talk about that because that's kind of the big thing that happened while between shows here. And I happened to come back into town on May the 4th. I took the red eye back from Vegas that night, so I was pretty exhausted. And of course, I think I mentioned that I thought a trailer would land on May the 4th. It kind of just made sense. So, excited that it came out. I saw it, watched it several times, and yeah, pretty incredible. So I will talk through it right now because the big thing about it, and I think everybody had this anticipation when they first started playing it, obviously, was, are we going to see Vader? Is Vader going to be in this thing? We got more shots of Inquisitors, more shots of Tatooine. Got some great dialogue with Ben and Uncle Owen. I thought that pretty strong words coming from Uncle Owen there regarding Anakin. You always kind of had that thought of what happened between them, or did anything happen between them? Because it didn't seem like when Obi-Wan dropped Luke off at the end of Episode 3 that there was any kind of feelings there, because at that point I'm not even sure Owen had even met Obi-Wan before, right? So that was probably their first meeting. Obviously, by coming and saying, this is, Anakin's son, can you watch over him? It seemed like Aunt Beru was very excited. You can see the concern in Owen's face as they look upon the binary sunset there. But, it does make you think, how many interactions did they have in these 19 years? Because by the time we get to A New Hope, you kind of get that sense that Luke, when Luke's talking about the droid belonging to, Bane Kenobi, Owen's very dismissive of him, right? Very he's just a crazy old man, and trying to get Luke to concentrate more on what he's there for, which is, fix the moisture evaporators. So, there has been some, I haven't fully read everything about it, but there has been a lot of interactions in comics of Obi-Wan. I think there's a story somewhere in there. I think that he, one of them, he's protecting Luke. He saves Luke. So I'm sure there's an expectation that Owen and Obi-Wan have crossed paths several times. Somehow, Owen, like he says here, knows that Obi-Wan trained his father. So, he has to find that out at some point too. So anyway, just some thoughts there ran through my head when I was watching this. To kind of add to that conversation that happens in there, just kind of thinking about the background of that. Anyway, several shots, definitely a lot more Empire shots and Inquisitor shots. the ships kind of flying through space and the Inquisitor scoping the planet out. Love just seeing Obi-Wan fighting. I mean, he's fighting without a lightsaber right now in some of these shots. But of course, he's taking down stormtroopers. He's using blasters. So we don't see Obi-Wan with a lightsaber yet. And then, of course, we see at the end here shots of Vader getting his armor put on and his mechanical arms. So, anyway, Obi-Wan Kenobi, only about a minute 28 seconds trailer. I mean, that's all I need to see. I mean, this thing's 2 weeks away. I doubt there's going to be anything else. Getting 2 episodes on the 27th, and then 4 episodes, I'm assuming, each week after that. So, man, I'm excited. I've been debating on if I am going to wake up, since I'm on the East Coast of the U.S., 3 o'clock in the morning is when this thing debuts on Disney Plus. I am very, very much leaning towards waking up at 3 a.m. and watching these episodes because, I got to take my daughter to school that morning and go to work. So if I don't do it that morning, I may not be able to watch this thing until I get done with work, which would be later in the afternoon. So I don't know if I can swing that. So I am pretty much feeling like I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night. So that means I need to get to bed earlier. And usually I do my show on Thursday nights, so I might have to do it a little earlier. But it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. And I'm probably going to do some kind of real quick review video for Patreon and throw that up there. But man, I cannot wait for this. This is by far the most anticipated. It might be the most anticipated show for me in a very long time. I can't even think of anything ahead of it right now. So anyway, can't wait for that. I am so stoked about that. Yeah, and I don't need to see Vader. I don't need to see any of that. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. So my May the 4th, that was kind of my May the 4th. I was a little exhausted and watched the trailer a few times. I popped in the original trilogy, 4, 5, and 6 on the television while I was working and getting caught up on things. So kind of had that in the background. But, my wife, God love her. She's not a huge Star Wars fan. She's not nowhere near obviously what I am. It doesn't have really it doesn't have even a general knowledge of everything of Star Wars. Just knows some things. Tries to watch the movies with me and usually ends up falling asleep. But she does get into it on Star Wars Day a little bit. She wears a Star Wars shirt. She's a teacher, so she wears a Star Wars shirt at work. She makes snacks for her kids, and while they're in class, they do Star Wars activities. Like they draw this year, I think they drew BB-8. And of course, she makes little snacks at home here, which she had these. I think I even posted it on my Instagram. She made these pretzel rods with red and blue, some with red icing, some with yellow or blue icing, so it looked like red and blue lightsabers. Pretty clever. So, and then she had like a Star Wars trail mix that she made for my daughter's school. So anyway, yeah, we get into it. We get into it around here. Of course, I'm always into it. You can see behind me, my entire office is Star Wars related. So, but it was good. It being on a Wednesday, in the middle of a work day was a little tougher, but I was able to talk to some friends, and about Star Wars and what they did that day. So Anyway, pretty good. I hope you guys enjoyed your May the 4th. But May the 4th is, like I said, I think before I think I said this on the last episode. I just wish they would as in Lucasfilm, would do a little bit more for May the 4th. I know they put out another gallery episode, which I haven't even watched the full episode of that, about the making a Book of Boba Fett. They put out the trailer. There's all kinds of merch discounts and stuff like that, but I don't know. I feel like they should do something more, with the fans and do some kind of event. I think I mentioned something like what DC does with the fandom. I think that's pretty neat, where just get a bunch of people on there and do interviews and talk Star Wars for a little while. I don't know. That would have been cool. Anyway, that's what I would do if I worked there, but I don't. So, yeah, that's those are the main things. If you missed them the last 10 days. All right, going on to what's coming out. A new novel just dropped this past week. That Brotherhood novel with Obi-Wan and Anakin is out there. Go check that out. That just came out. And then the next novel in June 28th is Shadow of the Sith. Padawan comes out in July 26th. The Princess and the Scoundrel, which I mentioned earlier with the new cover, comes out August 16th. And then the High Republic Convergence, October 4. And Path of Deceit, November 1. And then comics, like I mentioned, number 1 for Obi-Wan Kenobi came out May the 4th, as well as Star Wars 23. This past week, Halcyon Legacy number 3 came out. And then next week, you've got Dr. Aphra 20, Han Solo and Chewbacca number 2. And then that's it so far in May. And then June, you got a bunch. June 1st, Vader 23, Bounty Hunters 23. June 8th, you got Chrysanthemum number 1, Star Wars 24. And then later on in the month, you got Bounty Hunters, Vader, Crimson Reign finishes up, Obi-Wan number 2, Han and Chewie number 3, Dr. Aphra, stuff like that. So a lot of comic stories still coming. Halcyon Legacy is okay, and Han Solo and Chewbacca, looking forward to that in a couple weeks. Number 2 for that. Actually, next week. Yeah, next week for that. All right. Okay, so, I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, I saw an article about the 20th anniversary. So 2002, May 16th, 2002 is when Attack of the Clones Episode 2 came out. And I remember this was a fun release for me because, so I for those of you who don't know or remember at all from me talking about this, but I couldn't believe we were getting more Star Wars movies when Episode 1 got announced. I remember seeing the special editions in the theater in 1997, and then starting to hear that they had, in the middle of shooting for Episode 1. It was coming out May of 1999. And, I with a couple of friends from college, we camped out for tickets for Episode 1. It was like 3 days, I think. And I left. The only time I would leave is when I took a summer class that summer, and I would leave to go to class and then immediately come back and get back in line with the guys. And we stayed out there all day for 3 days. Finally got our tickets, because back then you couldn't, pre-buy your tickets. They went on sale the day, it was a midnight showing, so they went on sale that midnight. And I remember you could buy then for the next day, so I had bought 3 times for the next day. So I saw Episode 1, I saw it 4 times within 24 hours. So, it was incredible. I loved Episode 1. I couldn't wait for Episode 2. obviously you don't know what it's going to look like and feel like after you watch the first one, because you don't know what kind of a time jump there's going to be between 1 and 2. But by the time we got to episode 2, which was 2002, thankfully I didn't have to camp out for that one. I actually had a friend of mine, or someone that I was, someone that was, that we knew, worked at the movie theater, and he doesn't work there now, so he won't get in trouble, but he got us advance tickets, basically. He got us in the door early. So I remember going to episode 2, and the lines were just outrageous out the door, but we bypassed the lines, came in through the back door, and sat in the middle of the theater. And it was funny because I remember when people were pouring in, we were the only ones in there, sitting there for about an hour, in the middle of the theater before episode 2. So that was awesome. I think we even did that. I think we even did that for episode 3. Same thing. So, yeah, it was very exciting, very awesome. So my remembrance of it was this. I remember, for one, I loved the marketing in the trailer for it. I don't know if you guys remember, but the teaser poster came out, which I have the teaser poster behind one of these pictures back here, but I love it because, it's Anakin on the left, Padme on the right, and it says basically, a Jedi shall not know anger, nor hatred, nor love. And I remember thinking that was incredible advertising, because this kid's going to be Darth Vader, and that's going to be his downfall, is his love for Padme. So, it jumps 10 years. We're at the beginning of the Clone Wars, and I remember sitting there watching this all play out. And I think the best part of it, was seeing the interactions, with Obi-Wan and Anakin. You got to see this bond start growing. And the words that resonated with Luke so many years later, you're starting to see them played out, right? But I was, what drew me in most, I feel like, for episode 2 is really the whole story of the clones. It's called Attack of the Clones for a reason. The whole thing, this is where it really started. You really started to understand the plan that Palpatine had put in place, right? Because when Obi-Wan goes and investigates Kamino, he's finding out, just like we are, that this thing has been, this clone army was ordered 10 years ago. So that would have been right around the time of episode 1. And you start just thinking about all these things, like, what? And then who is Sifo Dyas? Like, Sifo Dyas made this order? Well, we had never heard of a Sifo Dyas, never seen a Sifo Dyas. Because you just assumed it was Count Dooku. And then, of course, we get the introduction of Jango Fett and his son Boba Fett, which I thought was, excuse me, which I thought was awesome. We get to see the backstory of that, and that's really what, again, drew me in, was this whole creation of this clone army and them being clones of Jango, which then ultimately means that these clones were Boba Fett, basically. So if you think about where we've come from there, we getting that introduction, and of course, what we saw in the Clone Wars and how we got to know most of these clones. It's really crazy how big that story has gotten. And then of course, the beginning of the Clone Wars, and I was a little, we saw the first battle, of course, Battle of Geonosis, but I was a little bummed that we weren't going to actually see the Clone Wars in live action. Not knowing at that time we were going to get a Clone Wars series, an animated series. So that was just, surprising itself years later. I think it was 2008 when that debuted. So it was basically 6 years from then and 3 years after episode 3 that we actually got the Clone Wars. So, I know a lot of people, here's the thing. I think a lot of people do complain about Attack of the Clones. A lot of people are against Hayden a little bit about his performance and his dialogue. But I just, that stuff never really bothers me that much. Trust me, there's definitely movies that I've seen where I can't stand the dialogue. I can't stand the way the actors are. But I don't get that in this. I feel like, could the dialogue been better? Sure. But I think what George was going for worked because, you got to remember, Anakin at this point is, I think, 19. Padme is like 24. They're still young, they're still kids, and Anakin especially. I feel like he talks like a kid, would. So that never really bothered me. The dialogue and stuff like that just didn't get to me. I was fully drawn into the storylines, which I think, the prequels definitely are a lot more political. There's a lot more governmental issues that are going on, of course, with the war and legislation and regulation and all this stuff. So, and it started up from the very beginning. Episode 1 was about taxation, right? So, it started really early, and it continues in episode 2. And at the same time, you get the dynamic of Anakin's mother dying and falling in love with Padme, and then, of course, this clone thing that's going on that Obi-Wan's trying to figure out. So there's a lot going on in that movie, and I was drawn in. I loved it. Of course, then you had some great lightsaber battles at the end. You had Yoda, finally seeing him fighting with a lightsaber. Yoda's my favorite character, so I was over the moon for that. I walked out loving that movie. I really did. I do love episode 2. I think it's not as bad as everybody thinks it is. Unfortunately, I do like a lot of the other movies more, so it still is kind of lower on my list. But I had thought about doing a council sessions where we debate questions and stuff like that, and I have it in my notes to actually do one where the question was going to be why isn't Attack of the Clones higher on your list? Because it should be, and most people I don't think have it, but it should be higher for sure because it is pretty good. I actually think it's really good. There's a lot of good elements to it. It's a good setup for the end. The good setup for episode 3 because it goes right into the Clone Wars, and then of course episode 3 would come out of it. And I think once Obi-Wan Kenobi comes out, the show, and we see whatever we're going to see between him and Vader, I do think it's going to make episode 2 mean more. I think you're going to be able to, because I feel like they're going to kind of reference 2 and 3 a little bit, episode 2 and episode 3, just because we saw that dynamic between Obi-Wan and Anakin there. And we got the same characters. Not even the same characters, we got the same actors. So I think you're going to be able to look back on episode 2 and 3 and rewatch those with a different eye and a different perspective. And I think it's going to be better. I think they're even going to be better. So I anticipate seeing an uptick in those viewings of episode 2 and 3, either probably right before and during the Obi-Wan series. So, so anyway, that's all I really wanted to say. I just wanted to say how much I actually really liked Attack of the Clones when I watched it in theaters. Like I said, unfortunately, it's down on my list just because, I really love Rogue One and Return of the Jedi and even Solo and Force Awakens, things like that. There's definitely a couple of them up there, but I would put it ahead of, I'd probably put it ahead of episode 8. Just saying. Episode 8's actually growing on me a lot, but it's still not up there. So, and 9, to be honest, has kind of dropped a little bit on my list. Anyway, but I'm going to do, like I said I was going to do, I'm going to get some commentaries going on these films again, because it's been a while. Got a lot more knowledge in my head to lend to these films. And a little bit of what I just talked about with Attack of the Clones, that's kind of the stuff that I would expand on in a commentary and really kind of bring up some issues and some points that need some of the discussion. So look for that soon. I am going to be doing commentaries here very soon. Hannah's going to join me for some, and then we'll see if I can get anybody else to do it. And then the thought process is maybe even to do it live. Just saying, especially maybe for the patrons. That would actually be pretty cool. So thinking about doing that. Look for that here soon. Okay, that's it for this episode of Inside the Force. I'll finish up with, let's see some of the comments. Maybe some of you have left. I know Throwing Addict, I know you're out there leaving some comments still, a lot on the videos. I think our last episode you mentioned, so again, this was before the trailer came out. You said, really excited to see what news and reveals come out of Celebration after Kenobi trailer, or another Kenobi trailer would be great, and would love an Andor trailer or teaser. Would like if they would reveal more info about Acolyte and Ahsoka. Lastly, of course, need some sort of news on movies. You're right. So he's talking about Celebration. Yeah, trailer. Oh no, Kenobi can't come out. I do think an Andor trailer is coming, but I don't think that's coming till a couple weeks now of Celebration, like you said. And then we did get some news about Ahsoka a little bit, right? That they're starting to shoot. I definitely think there'll be more revealed of that and Acolyte. I think you're right. Will be, because I think Acolyte will probably go into production, if not later this year, at the beginning of next year. And then, movie news. We'll see if that comes about or not. So, and then Thrawn Addict on our Dark Knowledge episode of Rule of Two. He says, great discussion. I agree with both of you. Haven't read Bane novels because they are not canon, but I know everyone loved them, so would like a character like Bane to be made canon and even introduce him like Thrawn. Was where the character is similar, but wait, sorry, am I reading this right? But I know not everyone loved them, so like a character like Bane to be made canon or even introduce him like Thrawn. Was where the character is similar, but changed a lot of the backstory. That's what he meant. Also, I do think if trying to survive the Rule 2 works, but when trying to defeat the Jedi and take control, it doesn't really work unless you specifically come up with Plagueis and Palpatine's plan. Yep, true. Back to Bane. Bane is canon. But but does he come in with a different backstory? I definitely think they would create maybe a little bit of a different backstory. I think maybe a more in-depth backstory, but but I think the general thing that's canon just right now is that he was there and that he created the Rule 2. I don't think anything else is canon beyond that. So yeah, there you go. Good comments, Thrawn. Thanks for that. And then, yeah, that's it. Just remember, youtube.com/Inside the Force. You can watch all of our shows there. You can listen, of course, on all podcast feeds. We've got shows like Council Sessions, Beyond the Saga, Master of the Order. I got a great Master of the Order coming up later at the end of this month. Can't wait to share that with you guys. And then Dark Knowledge, where we're tapping into the dark side of the Force a little bit with Master Ku, Corey Cooley over there. So, and then, of course, the Mandalore podcast with me and Martin Donison. If you guys want to listen to that, a lot of in-depth discussions there on the Disney Plus show. So we'll be picking back up with Obi-Wan as soon as that debuts. Of course, I'll be talking about it here and on Patreon, but definitely going to, do a lot more on that show as far as breakdowns. And of course, like I keep saying, we're on Patreon now. Patreon.com/Inside the Force. If you guys want to check out the tiers there, I'm already thinking about moving some things on the tiers. So just hope you can check it out and see if you like something and want to contribute. If not, no big deal. We're just glad you're here watching and listening to us. And we will be back next week. Look for, again, some upcoming brand new episodes of all of our shows and some commentaries, working on stuff like that. So appreciate it. Take care. Have a great, great week. And we will see you next time. May the Force be with you.